Hello, reptile entrepreneurs. This is your host, Bill Strand. And today we're going to be talking about selling on Etsy. Now, I know the first thing you may think of is why am I talking about selling reptile products on a handcrafted site? Well, let's just think about it. How many of your reptile products are handcrafted? Unless you've got it molded or you're buying things in bulk from overseas, if you're making it, chances are it's handcrafted. And since Etsy considers 3D printed items handcrafted, a lot of what we do falls under what can go on Etsy. Now, Etsy is a platform that allows you to set up your storefront, list your products, and then they're going to help process the payment, as well as offer some support for shipping. And so this makes it very easy to get selling. Because one thing about entrepreneurs, inventors, and innovators is they're good at making the product. They're not necessarily that good at making websites or marketing or that kind of thing. So if you would rather be spending your time inventing, innovating, and entrepreneuring, then Etsy may be this answer to getting your product out there easily. Now, I'm not making this up. People from the reptile community have already found their way to Etsy, and they're doing quite well. To help us understand what it's like to sell on Etsy, I'm going to bring on Doug Young of Firehouse Geckos, who is on Etsy and has found success. Doug's company, Firehouse Geckos, creates food dish holders for geckos, other gecko products, chameleon shooting gallery type things, and he makes these with his 3D printer. You can easily find him by going to Etsy.com and searching for Firehouse Geckos, and we can see what kind of products he makes. Now, he 3D prints these, and he's actually sent me some video of him making these products with his 3D printer, and so we're going to put that up over here as a visual ambiance while we talk about Etsy. Now, you may say, but why do people go to Etsy? When you want reptile products, you don't immediately think about going to Etsy. Well, that may be true in a way. There are a number of people on Etsy that also like reptiles. And the proof is that there are already reptile people on Etsy doing very well in their sales. And if you have a social media outreach already, then you have your marketing. You don't have to rely on Etsy marketing. All you need is their storefront, payment processing, and shipment support. And you, on your social media outreach, can send people to your Etsy store. And what this does for you is it means you don't need to have a website to be able to sell product. Now, I am a huge supporter of having your own website because it's a platform that you own. But it is now time to bring Doug on and have him tell you about what it's like to work on Etsy, how he got started with Etsy, and more importantly, how you can get started on Etsy. Please join me in welcoming Doug Young of Firehouse Geckos to the Reptile Entrepreneur Podcast. Hello, reptile entrepreneurs. I am here with Doug Young of Firehouse Geckos, and today we're going to be talking about selling on Etsy. Doug, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
Well, let's get straight to laying down the foundation. You started a company called Firehouse Geckos. What is this company and what do you sell?
Originally, I started out breeding mostly leopard geckos and some Chinese cave geckos. Kind of evolved from there. I have a pretty elaborate reptile room. Started doing some other projects, trying to work with some emerald tree skinks right now, helmeted chameleons, and croc skinks. I started out making some 3D printed stuff just for myself. Someone happened to see what I made, and inevitably they said, hey, can you make one of those for me? One thing led to another, and I eventually opened up an Etsy shop after I came up with a couple other designs, and we're doing pretty well.
Okay, so when you, first of all, what are the products that you made?
My first one was the Tokay feeder. It was another product I made. It's a 3D printed chameleon feeder. And that was actually what really kind of sparked me to push this a little bit more. When I first came up with a rough design in probably late 2019, there wasn't really anything else out there that was like purpose built other than Like a chameleon shooting gallery was the only other thing that was really out there, unless you want to DIY something. And I kind of took it upon
Okay.
myself, said I have a 3D printer, and I designed that and slowly, very slowly, evolved it into a product that actually wasn't even my first thing that I sold.
Okay. And you also do feeders for geckos, correct?
Yeah, I make 3D printed feeding ledges that use stainless bowls instead of using like plastic, or some places have like a paper one, but you're still stuck buying them over and over again.
Hmm. So when you first came up with this product and decided that you're going to sell it, how did you let people know that these were available to be purchased?
I had some posts on Instagram once I started the Etsy shop.
Yeah.
Everything before that was just kind of word of mouth in Facebook groups, really. The Tokay
Okay.
feeders, my Tokay feeders, I sold to a few different people on Facebook groups, and pretty much like, hey, can you make some
Okay.
other stuff? And just kind of sat down and banged out a couple different designs.
Okay, so now you have some designs and you've been selling them on Facebook. What was the point where you said, I need to have a sales outreach because I want to sell more of these to the general public?
It was actually a Etsy ad that I saw for another person who was doing 3D printed reptile accessories. I was like, well, they
Okay.
seem pretty successful. It seemed a big enough market where I could get a piece of that market too. And decided to open up an Etsy shop.
Okay. Now, did you do much analysis of other marketplaces, or was that ad you just decided I'm going to start on Etsy?
At first, it was I'm just going to go with Etsy. There
Okay.
was definitely a market of people going there to purchase them, purchase other products on Etsy that were reptile related. Looked at eBay. It wasn't really anything that was maybe not necessarily handmade, but like it was all stuff that was made by a big reptile supplier and nothing that
Hmm.
was made by a hobbyist.
Okay. And so let's get into if someone decides well, actually, what are the advantages of being on Etsy? That isn't necessarily the first thing we think about when we think about let's go buy reptile stuff.
Yeah, it's Etsy is supposed to just be for handmade or like vintage items, and being 3D printed falls into the handmade category.
Hmm. Hmm.
They do it's very easy to set up a shop, and the whole ecosystem they have works pretty well. There's very few problems that I've found with it. Their fees are pretty reasonable. Their ads can be kind of pricey, but they definitely drive a lot of sales, and they're doing all the legwork with collecting taxes, and not just in the U.S. If I sell something internationally, they'll collect any value added tax. So I really don't need to worry about
Okay.
much at all besides filing my own taxes.
Now, did you consider having an e-commerce portion to your website?
I considered a little bit. My main concern was kind of came down again to taxes and trying to know
Hmm.
tax laws for each individual state and where I need to collect them and where I don't need to collect them and how much. And then also filing in every state, and a lot of advertising. Like I don't really know much about running Google ads, and I figured there's something that's pretty much turnkey that I could jump into and set up a shop.
Okay. And so, how did you set up the shop? How easy was it? Now, if somebody wants to set up a shop, what do they have to do?
It's incredibly easy. You just make an account on Etsy. You can even log in with Facebook or Gmail. You'll go through a few steps. They're going to ask you questions just to try to figure out if what you're going to be selling is going to be acceptable to their terms and conditions. They're going to have you validate your identity for when they're sending you the revenue from your shop, and also they're going to file a 1099-K to the IRS every year. Come up with a business name, and you can set up a shop. And as soon as you put your first item on there, it'll eventually show up in the sales in the search, after, for me, it was about 72 hours before it started showing up.
Okay. And so you're mainly marketing towards the Etsy community?
Right now, it's the Etsy community. I'm exploring going into Amazon. I feel like that's probably my next big step if I don't start selling on my own website. And if I sell my own website, to kind of figure out what platform I want to use. If I want to use Shopify, seems to be a pretty popular one.
Okay. So with Etsy, what kind of fees, what do they charge for their service?
All right, there's a ton of fees that Etsy charges. They're not too terrible. I have some notes on my other screen here. So as soon as you list your first listing, as soon as you hit publish, they're going to charge you 20 cents. So that's a fee that's going to get charged. So if you make something that's not going to auto renew, you list it, it's 20 cents. And I believe it is 4 months. If it doesn't sell, they're going to charge you 20 cents again. And if you have like a renewing listing, which is how I have my shop set up, if someone purchases a feeding ledge from me, it's going to charge 20 cents to kind of like repost it.
Okay. So let me see if I understand this. If I have something that it's a one-off, then
yes,
I have it for, did you just say 20 cents for 4 months?
20 cents. 20 cents for 4 months.
I list it. It's 20 cents for 4 months. And if it doesn't sell, they renew that 20 cents. If I have I have a product that I'm making many of them, I'm mass producing this product, then they charge 20 cents for me to list it. And every time I sell one, they charge me 20 cents. Okay.
Correct. So on top of that 20 cents, there's a 5% transaction fee. So they're the ones handling all, credit cards or PayPal and sending me the money once a week. So that seems like a pretty reasonable fee, especially once they factor in how much other stuff they handle for me. So each sale, when Etsy collects their payments, it's 3% plus 25 cents.
Okay, so where did that 5% that you talked about, and then there's a 3% plus?
I guess we'll start from the beginning on that one.
Okay.
So in addition to the listing fee, there's a 5% transaction fee. So when you buy one of my ledges and it costs $19.99 plus shipping and tax, Etsy charges 5% based on that whole whatever the customer pays.
Okay.
And then on top of the 20 cents and the 5% for the transaction, they charge 3% plus 25 cents for the payment fee for them processing the cards or PayPal.
And is that 5% and 3% also including the shipping charge?
The shipping charge is completely different.
Okay.
When you set up your listing, it'll ask you what your dimensions are and the weight of it, and they'll be able to give customers an estimated shipping fee. Or some other people have it set up where it's a flat rate, like with a $4 shipping or $5 shipping. There's also free shipping. Etsy really pushes their free shipping program. It's any order over $35 ships for free. I'm a part of it. I have maybe 15, 20% of my orders end up shipping for free once people cross that threshold.
And how does that work as far as you being profitable? Shipping isn't cheap.
Yeah, no, it's not cheap at all. My average shipping cost, when it comes down to when something ships for free, it's about $9.50 roughly, and there's still painful. Enough. Yeah, there's still enough meat on the bone after I ship that out and cover my costs that it's worthwhile. Luckily, a lot of my orders that ship for free, people are spending more than the minimum, so there's a lot more wiggle room on it.
All right. All right. So, how long have you been on Etsy?
I've been on Etsy since June 2020.
2020. Okay, so it's a little over a year, maybe a year and a half. So, and how successful has it been selling on Etsy?
The first few months, first 6 or 7 months was pretty slow. After that, it jumped up significantly. I can't really attribute it to a specific thing that happened. My sales went from I might have 2 or 3 sales a week up to right now I'm about 15 to 20 sales a week, and it's been
Okay.
pretty steady for the last 9, 10 months.
And how much of that is you sending people to the Etsy store saying, get my stuff here? And how much of that is coming from the search on Etsy?
The vast majority of my sales come through the search on Etsy, a little bit through Etsy ads, and in a close third, it's through links on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram.
Okay. And how does it work when somebody places an order? As in, how are you notified, and how does the process work as far as you being notified and you getting something out?
Etsy has an app you can put on your phone. It's separate from the standard Etsy app. The one for sellers is called Sell on Etsy. I'll get a notification whether someone favorites an item, buys an item, leaves a review, or sends me a message. And it's kind of
Okay.
it's a whole separate platform from their standard app. Or if you want to do it on your computers through the Etsy website, they send you an email too. So you just click on there or log into your account, and you can handle the order.
All right, Doug. Now, shipping is often confusing to people because there's just so many providers, carriers, and then international is a mess. How do you handle shipping?
I originally started off buying all my shipping labels through Etsy.
Okay.
It's fairly easy to use, but I noticed over time, maybe I overestimated the weight of an item and I maybe paid
Hmm.
an extra $1.20. I didn't really think too much of it, and I looked into another service called Pirate Ship, which is what I'm currently
Uh-huh.
using.
Hmm.
It interfaces with Etsy, so I can just log into Pirate Ship. All my orders pop right up. I can print labels in batches. So if I have several orders of the same item, I just go through, I can click on it and select what shipping service I want to use. Most of my stuff
Okay.
goes either through the postal service with first class or priority. My larger stuff will go UPS or FedEx. Pirate Ship just recently started using UPS, and I've really taken advantage of that, especially when I'm
Okay.
shipping several of my ledges across the country. And each of my ledges weighs, packaged up, it's about 12 ounces roughly. And as soon
Hmm.
as something crosses 1 pound, it has to go priority mail. Um, First class mail is pretty reasonable. For first class mail, my average postage is about $4.50. Sometimes it gets up to a little less than $6, but that's if it's going all the way across the country. And right now, the Postal Service puts on surcharges during the holidays, so they'd add an extra
Hmm.
75 cents onto every postage purchase.
All right. So, what happens for an international customer?
For international, I use Etsy for purchasing my labels. They have something called the Global Shipping Program. Uh, it sounds a lot fancier than it really is. You'll just print off a label. I'm not sure if there's several locations through the US, but when I do it, print off a label, it goes to New York State to a processing center. They slap on another shipping label with the customs forms on it, and they send it overseas. Before I send out
Okay.
anything international, I need to figure out what tariff number it's going to have. It's kind of a
Okay.
confusing topic. There's literally thousands of different uh, numbers that it could have, and that number just identifies more or less what the package contains.
Yeah,
Uh,
and there's never really a good fit.
yeah, it's Etsy recommends stuff, but absolutely double check. I've never personally had issues, but you don't want something to get hung up at customs in someone's country, and
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure you have a happy customer.
Yeah, yeah. And so, have you had any problems in your shipping?
I had one issue with international. It was actually one of maybe the uh, first dozen orders that I shipped out went over to Sweden. Um, Sent it out, put the shipping label on it. It went to the place in New York, and Etsy shipped it overseas. My customer emailed me uh, maybe a month and a half later saying, "Hey, that package never showed up."
Mm-hmm.
I checked the tracking, and it just said it was still in customs. Package never showed up, and just actually, this was over a year since I shipped it. The package showed up at my door. I I'm still not entirely sure why they kicked it back to me, but I've sent
Mm-hmm.
several other packages labeled the same exact way over to Sweden and haven't had any problems whatsoever. Uh, I've
Okay.
had packages get lost in the mail. My personal policy is I like to wait, 3 to 4 days after the estimated delivery date. And if it doesn't move, I'm just going to reship it. I don't want to keep people waiting indefinitely. Usually the package does show up, but I figure just reshipping a package is really just the cost of doing business. And I want people to be happy. That's really, really at the end of the day. A happy customer is always
Okay.
going to come before profits for me.
All right, so Doug, I want to understand the shipping options. You said there is a free shipping, there is a fixed shipping cost, and then there is this option for Etsy to estimate shipping to charge the customer. How does that work?
That option for them to estimate it is only through if you use the postal service. So if you want to
Okay.
use, say, FedEx, you can't have it set up so your customer can decide, hey, I want to use FedEx instead of the postal service.
Okay.
If I wanted my customers to use FedEx or UPS instead, I would have to have a flat rate for shipping. And obviously, if
Okay.
I'm up in New England, so if I'm shipping to someone a couple states over, it's a lot cheaper than if I'm shipping to someone in California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for items that are large, the post office doesn't take. They have a limit that is below what FedEx and UPS will take, and so at
Yeah,
that point, I
they
have to
have a
be just
limit.
a.
Uh, in my listings, I actually put a little disclaimer at the bottom saying if you order, I have it listed as 6 wedges, but I can do a lot more than that. It's usually around 10 to 12 before I'll send it. I usually go with UPS now. The shipping
Okay.
company that I use to purchase my labels through just got UPS. And UPS 3-day is a lot cheaper than Priority for the same size package and same weight package.
Okay. Okay. And so when we're talking about you setting up the shop and you said it's successful, uh, how successful is it?
It is, I'll just.
Yeah, there's your big open-ended question where I'm allowing you as much wiggle room as you want.
Yeah.
You can say that, uh, and what kind of things we want to hear are, uh, is it is it a hobby business? Is it something you consider a side business? Is it profitable? You said it in the email. You said that it funded your gecko room. Uh,
Yeah.
so respond in some way that gives an indication of what the potential is to sell on Etsy.
Right now, I'm at the point where it's kind of a serious hobby going into being more of a part-time job, and hopefully, I get
Okay.
a little more of a serious almost full-time thing, because since I'm a firefighter, I work 2 out of 8 days a week, and I have a
Okay.
lot of free time. And usually, we all work side jobs. And my dream is to be able to work at home when I'm not at the firehouse.
And how much potential does this have to become a, say, full-time career type thing?
I definitely have a huge potential. I have customers who
Okay.
are always asking, "Hey, can you design XYZ for me?" And 9 times out of 10, my answer is yes. Even if it's not something
Okay.
that I'm going to sell in my shop, I've been starting to pull a lot of ideas from my customers, and those are starting to be new items in my shop.
Okay. So at what point are you as far as growth, or how much longer will you be able to maintain this structure of selling on Etsy before you have to make a decision as to how to grow?
I could stay on Etsy for a while. There's the one big name in 3D printed reptile products. He has an insane amount of sales, and they're doing very well on there. As far as I know, they don't sell on anything outside of Etsy.
Okay. So presumably you could just spend your entire career on Etsy.
Exactly. The sky could be the limit. I kind of want to start to branch
Okay.
out into more, I want to say maybe traditional marketplaces such as Amazon. People definitely aren't thinking, "Hey, I'm going to go on Etsy and look for a feeding ledge for my crested gecko or a chameleon
Uh-huh.
feeder."
Yeah. Uh-huh. And so how much more capacity do you have to produce before you have to expand your production ability?
I'm definitely going to have to expand my production before I make the jump towards Amazon. Right now, I'm running 4 3D printers pretty much 24/7 as long as I'm home. I'm
Mm-hmm.
purchasing a
Okay.
fifth one this week, and hopefully in probably early 2022, I'll purchase a sixth and a seventh. And I think at that point, I'll be comfortable to make the jump over to Amazon.
Okay. All right. So at what point did you get the idea that you are going to be a 3D printing business?
It was probably after the first couple months on Etsy, when I started seeing
Mhm.
that people were purchasing my items, and everyone was leaving 5-star reviews saying, I love your feeding ledges. No one else makes something like this. I don't know why nobody else makes something with stainless bowls."
Mhm.
And just that the feedback from my customers was awesome. And it was really after having repeat customers that I knew I really had something.
Okay. All right. Because 3D printing is an incredible resource, and we're finding a number of people being able to start a business from their bedroom.
Yep.
Uh, how hard was that for you?
The biggest learning curve for me was learning the design software.
Okay.
Originally, I was using it's a free program called Tinkercad. It's pretty cool for designing very basic items. My first Tokay feeders that I was just selling here and there on Facebook were on Tinkercad. The only real downside was that the resolution of them wasn't very good. And what I mean by that is if you try to print a circle, it's gonna not really be a circle. It's gonna have very defined edges in angles. I moved
Okay.
over to a program called Fusion 360, which is it's definitely not cheap, but it's well worth it. I can do all sorts of more advanced designs with it.
Okay. How much is Fusion 360?
It was $450 for the year.
Okay. That's a help.
Uh, I was able they had an offer. Typically, it's up around $700 for the year,
Mm,
but they
okay.
say, "Hey, you can email us," and I was able to kind of plead my case. Like I'm a one man show, and uh, it was $700 a little bit for me um, to
Mhm.
process for like the first year.
All right, Doug. say I've got an idea, and we're not now talking to the entrepreneurs out there that say, I've got an idea, I want to do this. What would your advice be as to how to get started with 3D printing?
My advice would be watch a ton of YouTube videos on how to run a 3D
Mm-hmm.
printer and especially how to troubleshoot a 3D printer. Troubleshooting them was one of the most frustrating parts for me when I first started. I started off with a very, very budget machine, and I got okay prints, but it was nothing I could sell to someone. I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
put my name on it. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I really wanted something that was completely perfect before I was going to charge someone money for it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I upgraded to what's kind of considered maybe like a prosumer level machine. It's definitely not something that every industrial print farm is going to run, but there are certainly tons of people who use these printers for print farms and print on huge scales running 24/7, 365.
Okay. And is there a certain 3D printer that you would advise for someone wanting to do a professional product?
Personally, I run machines made by Prusa. It's a company
Okay.
out of the Czech Republic. Um, if you can afford the price for the printers, I would highly recommend it. They're usually turnkey. There isn't too much fiddling with them. I have 4 printers running right now. I have their Mark III, which is my oldest printer, and it's my most reliable, even though it has the most print hours on it. I
Hmm.
have 3 of their minis. The minis are awesome machines, and they're pretty reliable. Nothing like the Mark III, but I've never had to replace anything on my Mark III other than the nozzles, which
Okay.
are kind of a consumable. You're going to have to replace them eventually. The minis, I've had to do replace a couple parts on them, but it's still definitely a good machine. For a budget
Okay.
machine, Creality makes some awesome machines. One of my buddies who 3D prints too, he uses all Creality machines, and he has a very nice end product too.
And is there anything else that we should know about working with Etsy?
There are some things that might not work perfectly for someone like us who are making reptile products. When you make your listing, there's a kind of an odd thing. So I have these little magnetic vine mounts that I make, and I sell them in a 4-pack, 6-pack, or 8-pack. And
Mm-hmm.
as you can imagine, the 8-pack weighs about twice as much as the 4-pack. But
Hey.
I have to pick one weight unless I want to have a separate listing for a 4-pack, a
Uh-huh.
6-pack,
Okay.
and an 8-pack. And I figure it's easier for my customer to find one of them and just select how many they want. Uh,
Yeah.
I kind of estimated out how much the shipping is, and there luckily wasn't too much of a difference between the 4-pack and the 8-pack. Uh, on other products, like if I wanted to sell my really popular ledges in multi-packs, I would absolutely have to make a different listing because there's no way I could factor in at least double the shipping charge for
Okay.
multi-packs.
Doug, I hear in the news, I hear about Etsy. They're trying to be a bigger company, and I hear about their marketing tactics. Some people aren't happy about it. They run ads, and then they force you to be part of ads.
Yep.
What is going on with Etsy ads?
The forcing you to be part of their ads is their offsite ads. Their offsite
Okay.
ads are a little controversial in how they bill you for it. If someone clicks on an ad for one of your products and it leads to a sale, they're going to charge you 15% of that sale, and that includes shipping. So if someone didn't
Okay.
qualify for free
Yeah.
shipping, they're going to charge at 15% on top of um,
Yeah.
everything else.
Uh,
And that's if your sales for the year are under $10,000, you can there's a 15% rate and you can opt out of it. If you sell more than $10,000 a year, you cannot opt out of Etsy's offsite ads. And they
okay.
give you a discounted rate. of the fee is 12%. That's still on top of the entire purchase price, and it's a pretty significant chunk. It's sometimes a little painful when people do it, especially if it's a big order. I've had it happen one or two times where it's a big order. At the end of the day, I'm still making money on it. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Okay.
Like they'll track the person for 30 days. So even if you click on the ad initially and you don't buy anything, but if they come back and they purchase it within 30 days, they attribute it to their ads. And it's a small percentage of my sales that are from offsite ads. And like we discussed before, it was a lot of my sales come from Etsy searches, or if someone is on another listing and they see an advertisement that Etsy puts up for my products. And that there's no fee for it if it's an on-site ad.
Okay.
But you are notified if it's through an advertisement.
All right. So we talked about off-site ads. What are on-site ads and how do they work?
Etsy's on-site ads, they're either going to be in a listing for someone else's item, or sometimes it's on their homepage. And they'll show these ads. For me, they cost 2 cents a piece. So whenever they show it to someone, it costs 2 cents. And you're like, hey, I can, it's only 2 cents, but if tons and tons of people look at it, it's really going to add up. Luckily, I can set a budget. You can only, if you want to do a couple bucks a day, it definitely helps. And to put in perspective, I have it set at $4 a day right now. It doesn't mean it costs me $4 every day, but I allow them to spend up to $4 a day for the ads. And it's few and far between that I really get close to that $4 mark. And
and who are they showing your ad to?
It's people who've searched for either my items or something similar to mine.
Okay.
However they want to
figure that out. So it's
like
a Google ad.
Yes. Targeted advertising.
Okay. Now, I mean, this whole episode was meant to be a how to get started on Etsy, but it sounds like that is just as simple as opening up an account and saying, here's my product. Is it that simple?
It really is. I don't spend a ton on their advertising too. It was really word of mouth. Just started the shop. People started coming to it and referring their friends to me, mentioning my name in Facebook groups, and just kept growing and growing and growing. It was really just kind of this.
And if I have an Etsy storefront, do I even need a website?
I would say you don't need one. I'd recommend just doing an Etsy shop and doing an Instagram or maybe even a Facebook too. Just so you can try to do a little bit of your own marketing.
Okay. And would you have any words for budding entrepreneurs out there thinking about getting involved in this?
I would definitely recommend to people to spend the money up front, get stuff, whether you're 3D printing or if you're like Jim Reichbost, make the best stuff you can right off the bat. And people are going to see the quality. They're going to know you make good products, and that big investment you made in the beginning, it's more than likely going to pay off.
Excellent. All right, Doug, I want to thank you very much for coming on and sharing about Firehouse Geckos. I know it's going to be inspiring to people out there seeing how easy it can be.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Bill. I really appreciate it.